Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com, here for Post-Raw number 72, which, for whatever reason, when I was doing all this stuff when I was planning the show on YouTube, I was getting really confused because I was looking at my show. It said last week was Post-Raw 71, but then I was looking at the thing again and then I saw 72. And I was like, oh, this is our 73rd show then. It was Wrestleview Live 72. So now we are caught up with all the Wrestleview Live numbers that there have ever been. And yeah, we're tied right now. Next week we will surpass Wrestleview Live for one of the longer running shows on our network. Other than Wrestleview Weekly, I'm sure Doug's been going at it for almost 2 years on Wrestleview Weekly and hardly ever misses a week. So it's a testament because Doug goes for 2 to 3 hour extravaganzas sometimes. For the last 2 years, that's pretty. His stamina is impressive. His liver scarring, I'm sure, is even more impressive. And he will pay the he will pay the piper one day for that, but not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. Anyway, I am not alone here. Victoria is joining us tonight. Just before we were going on the air, the princess of Wrestleview woke up. We are trying to get her on a sleep schedule, so it'll be pretty rare to see the baby on the show for the time being, even though she is teething and things are getting a little weird right now with her sleep schedule. We're going to try to get her down around 10:30, 11 o'clock. But she did wake up, so Victoria will be joining us in a little while, so I'll be carrying the first part of this show. But I am not carrying it alone because you're all here with me in the chat room tonight. Yes. We have a good chat room tonight. Let's say hello to everybody. We got our dear friend Nafis Sadat. We love Nafis. How are you doing, Nafis? Andrew Elder, our friend in the chat room. Hi, Mike. How's Lily and Victoria? They're all good. They're all good. Doug, I don't have kids or a liver. That's why. I love that. I didn't even know Doug was in the room tonight. That's great. Excellent. We have Daniel Shell. Yes, the Queen of Wrestleview will be here soon, Daniel. I promise. Quentin Walter, our friend. Hey, Madman Mike. I'll take that. I like that. Madman Mike, not bad at all. Andrew's asking if Rowan scared the baby. That is probably the biggest news of the entire night. That we finally got the payoff to the 3 months, probably a little longer, actually. Yeah, probably about 3.5 months of buildup as to what the heck was in that cage. Yeah, maybe longer. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Michael Jewell in the chat room tonight. And Nafis, of course. Yes, Nafis, who lives in Washington State. I'm doing all right. Too much coronavirus fears here in the Northwest, I'm sure. It's that those fears are everywhere. And, it's like you don't know what to believe when you watch the news. It's like... Is it as dangerous as they're making? Because some people are really, really trying to downplay it. Like, oh, it just affects the older people. It's like, well, I mean, older people are people too. And shouldn't we just be worried for them? And I'm always kind of worried that these viruses are gonna we'll find an antidote for it eventually. It's something where it can be cured. And then it's what's the next strain that comes out? All these things. It's all a direct result of antibiotics and the diseases. They're not going to go away. Bugs aren't going to go away, so they just keep mutating into stronger and stronger things. Eventually we won't be able to fight them off, which is a little scary. Louis Veraldi in the chat room tonight. Sweet Lou is here. Very good. I need a Mike Tedesco rant in my life. I don't know if I'm going to rant tonight because I really, really enjoyed Raw tonight. And the only thing I'm bummed about with this Raw is we never miss shows in Brooklyn. We've been to almost every single live event at least in Brooklyn since the building opened up in 2012. We went to the very first one, which was TLC in 2012, which was the debut of the Shield, the very first match of the Shield on the main roster. And we've seen everything since. All 4 SummerSlams that were there, every Raw. I think I maybe missed a SmackDown or 2 there, but yeah, but we figured since we're going to Elimination Chamber on Sunday, that we could probably skip this one. Yeah. But Nafis did. Okay, Nafis got me. Nafis is our super fan here. The Shayna match, yeah, that was a little off. I do have some comments to make about the Shayna Baszler match tonight, but there's so much positive coming out of the show. And Billy Hefner, of course, my brother, Billy Hefner in the chat room tonight. But there's so much positive coming out of this show tonight. In terms of WrestleMania build and direction going forward. I really like where we're going so far. Although, of course, there are things to be wary of, which I will, of course, be sure to point out for you. But overall, this is a very good episode of Raw. And I'm looking at the Twitter poll right now, and hey, you know what? Might as well show you as well. Let's see if I can switch it. Oop, pressed the wrong button here. Damn technologies. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can do this. Nope, my hotkeys aren't working tonight. We have 78% giving this a thumbs up currently. I actually think it should be higher, but it's probably the biggest news of the night is the fact that Eric Rowan has finally revealed what was in the cage, a giant tarantula. It was the rumor going around for the last few weeks that it would be a spider eventually. I mean, what else could it be? Like a raccoon, some rats. Damien in the cage again, instead of in the burlap sack, he's in the cage now. Spider. What haven't we done in WWE yet? We've had a woman give birth to a hand. We've had imaginary rats that we never saw. We had snakes, cobras, dogs, pit bulls, puppets. Now we got a spider. Not a real spider either. It was definitely an electronic spider. Looked like something out of Harry Potter or something like that. It was very strange, but the payoff to that was never gonna be good. Never. It was just fun while it lasted. I really, really enjoyed Rowan with the cage. Probably one of my favorite. It's probably one of my favorite squash matches of all time. I still can't forget it. He was in the ring with that skinny kid. The bell rings. The kid runs out of the ring, goes under the ring. Rowan tries to chase him like the big oaf he is. Kid comes out on the other side, takes the cage, runs up the ramp, puts it down. Rowan chases after him. The kid gets in the ring. He runs through the crowd, gets back in the ring, is looking for a count-out victory over Eric Rowan. I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. Rowan grabs the cage at the top, runs down, just destroys this kid, and then takes his cage back. That was comedy gold with this cage. They got as much life as they could out of it and out of the mystery. Eventually, I think, the payoff came a little too late, where it's kind of like, okay, most people have lost interest in this cage by now. But it was fun while it lasted. I have to say that was not the worst storyline that I've seen from this company. And not even the worst storyline on the show. So there you go. Okay. Let's just jump right into this Raw from Brooklyn, because it was a hot show. Usually Brooklyn crowds, and I know from being in it, they can be super, super obnoxious. Really, really bad. There's always like one section of just drunk imbeciles that are, just screaming Vince McMahon should die, chanting Chris Benoit, trying to start the wave. I didn't really catch any of that tonight, and I was looking closely. I thought at one point in the Shayna match they might have been trying to start the wave, but it never made it on the TV. Didn't really take away from much. Or it was either the Shayna match or the Ruby Riott match. Both of them were terrible, so there's that. But for the most part, the Brooklyn crowd tonight was into everything that they were doing, which is key. Really, really key for some of these segments. It was the crowd interaction and the crowd reactions to them that really, really put them over. Particularly the opening and closing segments. The crowd was with them the entire way, and they acted like a crowd should act. Like they weren't trying to make the show about them, and that's got to be a first for Brooklyn in quite some time. A first. So maybe they're turning the corner. Who knows? Nafis says there was a Lita chant during Beth's promo. That's mean. That is mean. Louis Veraldi, I'm sure Bronx was wishing death on Vince as usual. Ow. Yes. Probably, actually. Again, good crowd. Helped out a lot. So here's first place that it helped out. We have Brock Lesnar making his way to the ring alongside Paul Heyman, kicking off the show. He comes out to a good reaction, and the crowd was super into what they were doing. They chanted, every single syllable along with Paul Heyman's intro, and Brock was like bouncing around and like he was like, really just getting into it. You could tell like as he was listening to it, he was like, he's getting like really, really super fired up. It was great. Paul Heyman comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul Heyman, the advocate for the reigning defending undisputed WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Brock Lesnar. This is the most stacked WrestleMania lineup in decades." I don't know about that. I can't affirm that statement, but it's looking pretty good. On paper, this is looking pretty good so far. Save for a couple matches, people are going to complain about. I'm sure the Goldberg Roman Reigns match is what it is. It's people say it's a bigger attraction than Wyatt and Reigns would be. I have my own opinions on that because, in terms of big attractions and stuff like that, yes, of course, Goldberg is the bigger star, but you spent 3/4 of a year building up Bray Wyatt, to be this unstoppable monster, and people got behind him. They sold a lot of merchandise. I have a Mercy the Buzzard puppet sitting here that cost me about $30 at Madison Square Garden. And then in typical fashion, it's just, well, we don't feel like it's getting over enough. We're going to pull the rug out and, we're just going to go to old hat again, that, it's going to bring some older fans back. Like, my cousin Brett was a huge WCW fan, huge. And he's pumped about Bill Goldberg. He posted on his Snapchat on Friday. He took a picture of the screen of, when Reigns and Goldberg were face to face on SmackDown, and was like, "I'm nerding out. This is pretty cool." That works, but in terms of attractions, WrestleMania has already sold itself. People are going to watch WrestleMania whether Goldberg's on the card or not. People already bought the tickets. The tickets are already sold for the show months in advance without Goldberg there. I don't think it would be an issue if for just 1 year they stick to their guns and say, "You know what, we're going to do our damnedest to just get some of our current talent over with the other current talent and try to make it as big as we possibly can make it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we tried." You can't. It's impossible to make stars the way that they're doing it. It's just impossible. And the well of talent that's out there that can still compete at a high level is getting smaller and smaller. I can't think of anybody else that's out there other than Dwayne Johnson that can really go. In terms of being a legend. Undertaker is well past the expiration date. Well past. And I hate saying that because he's such a respected legend and just, his contributions to the business are incredible, but he is way, way past expiration. Goldberg looked severely winded after 4 spears and, a slam. I can't even call it a jackhammer. How's that going to be at WrestleMania? Is it going to be the same? They're just going to be throwing spears around. That's the end of it. I mean, that would be fun. I mean, it's going to get the crowd popping, but it's not. I don't know. It's WrestleMania. I want a little different. I just want to see I just want to see a star being made. Like John Cena came back. It got the biggest SmackDown rating since the second week in October 2019, and he's yesterday's news as well. They haven't built a new star since John Cena, and that was 15 years ago. What are we doing? Having Bill Goldberg squash a guy that they spent months and months building, it's a little iffy. A little iffy. Triple H can still go nuts, he says. Yes, he can as well. He might be it, but Triple H also isn't really. It's not really his thing to put over new talent because he wants to have the half-hour match And that works against them too, because he can't do the half-hour match anymore, but nobody wants to tell him that. That's the problem. So he goes out there and does the super long match, and it gets a little weird. But anyway, spear versus spear, that's what they're doing. I don't even know how I got off into this tangent, but that's like a mini rant, I would say. Anyway, Paul Heyman out there saying this is the most, oh yeah, that's right. He said this most stacked WrestleMania lineup in decades. Unfortunately, I have to make this announcement. The main event of WrestleMania is a sham. And the crowd booed it. He goes, I know you can sit there like Pavlovian dogs all you want. You know it, Lesnar knows it, I know it. They want to sell you on Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre's name gets a big organic reaction. It's working. I'm sure this time next year we'll be talking about how the crowd is completely turned on Drew McIntyre and they hate his guts because he's been being shoved down their throats. And I'm sure I'm going to log on in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania talking about how Drew McIntyre is being shoved down our throats. I'm sure it's going to happen. He talks about how Lesnar massacred 15 top stars in WWE, in the Royal Rumble, only to get hit in the testicles by Ricochet, left vulnerable for Drew McIntyre to kick him over the head. What makes you think that proves that McIntyre can pin him at WrestleMania? He can't. McIntyre is nothing more than a stupid big bitch that's going to get squashed. They love the use of bitch in this company. They love saying it. That's like the one word that's like, okay, you can still be a PG show and say this word. So they use it quite a bit. Son of a bitch was another one that was used a lot tonight. So any iteration of bitch, even Natalya, but during her matches, it's cringeworthy. You bitch. I'm sure that's how she talks to Tyson as well. Fuck me, Tyson. And so I always remember Hunter doing that. It's so funny. Anyway, Drew McIntyre comes out. Huge ovation for Drew McIntyre. And I was like, okay, this is going to be like in my mind, because I'm just so programmed for this. I just said Drew McIntyre is obviously going to come out and Lesnar's going to just squash him. He's just going to crush him, lay him out, because they think that's how you build up people. Well, they finally learned their lesson after a couple WrestleManias of doing just that. Drew McIntyre gets in Lesnar's face. Lesnar says, let's wait till WrestleMania, walks away, and then he goes to blindside him, and Drew lays him out with a vicious Claymore kick. Looked great. Lesnar sells big for it, and McIntyre walks off. Crowd's chanting, you deserve it at Lesnar. Lesnar is stumbling to get up. He's really, really selling this nicely. They're singing, the crowd was great for this. They just made this segment so good. They're singing, Kiss Him Goodbye, the Na 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 song. Lesnar's just furious. He walks up the ramp, and McIntyre comes out from backstage and blindsides him with another Claymore kick on the stage. I was like, when he came out, I was like, okay, Lesnar's going to catch him with an F5 on the stage. No, he hit him with the Claymore kick. Crowd chants one more time. McIntyre sets up another Claymore kick. I was like, what the hell's going on? 3 Claymore kicks. He points at the WrestleMania sign. Lesnar's absolutely crushed. This was a hell of a segment. Great, great way to build up Drew McIntyre. Really, really good stuff. Brock Lesnar made him look like $1 million on the cell. Say what you want about Brock Lesnar. That guy, when he wants to work, he is up there as one of the smartest and all-time great wrestlers, I would say. Not the best ever, but pretty damn good. I love this. I love him going for the blind side and eating the Claymore kick. That was great stuff. And I also love the second Claymore kick on the stage here. Turns around, lays him out. Good stuff. And now, I wasn't a fan of him, obviously, just murdering Ricochet. And Ricochet, we're going to talk about him in a few minutes, because that guy is, he should maybe beg them to go back to NXT. It makes what happened in Saudi Arabia actually kind of make sense. Him squashing Ricochet in such dominating fashion makes you just think, God, Lesnar's a beast. He's a monster. He's going to WrestleMania looking super, super strong. He's probably going to go in on Monday and kill Drew McIntyre. It just makes the comparison to from that to him getting laid out so much stronger. It makes McIntyre look so much more dangerous that guy, Ricochet, couldn't even get a move in at Super Showdown. Didn't get a single move in. Lesnar just crushed him. absolutely had nothing, no answer for Drew McIntyre. That kind of tells a story at the expense of Ricochet's career, but it tells a story, and it was a good story. There's some damn good storytelling going on right now for the main event angles, at least. Jamel's in the chat room tonight. Jamel, how are you, sir? He's asking if I've seen any of the Ruthless Aggression documentaries. I saw the first one. I saw a little bit of the first one, and I kind of had to just stop watching it because it's too much of a rewrite of history for me, particularly when they said that that Vince McMahon willingly chose to change it from WWF to WWE. No mention of the lawsuit. Like, come on, please. That was not voluntary. Not even close. Not even close. But yeah. So it's kind of like it's just like, you know, when I watched the Monday Night War documentary, you know, like, even though those were fun, but again, it's just like WCW sucked. They were never good. They were good for a time. They were on fire for a time. It made it hard to watch those documentaries too, because it was just like a WWE fluff piece. Yeah, and Nafi says, like, they can't tell the full story. I understand, like, they can't use Benoit, but he was a big part of that Ruthless Aggression era, and it's like you can't tell the full story without him. And in many ways, that era came to an end with the murder-suicide. Really. Like, that's kind of what ended the Ruthless Aggression era. You know, it changed everything in wrestling. Changed it forever. You know, we still feel the after effects of it to this day. You know, and a lot of the change is positive for the wrestlers, but you know, that's still a terrible thing. And you know, that's why I get mad, like, when I go to the Brooklyn shows and they're trying to start Benoit chants. It's like, sorry, he was a great performer. There are plenty of great performers that have done some nefarious things. None worse than killing your wife and kid. You know, and I'm sorry, like, whatever you did in your life just gets it's canceled out by that. You can't go back. Anyway, I'm going on about all this stuff. Let's talk about Ricochet, because he was out next after this match. Oh, no, he wasn't. I'm sorry. The next match is the Raw Tag Team Championship match. I'll save Ricochet for a few minutes. I love this match here. Now, I was like, why did they do this? You know, it's like, why did they say it's a now or never opportunity for the Street Profits? Like what made it a now or never? And who's deciding this? You know, it's like, I watch this show, I'm like, who's making these decisions? Who's saying, okay, well, this is booked for WrestleMania. This one's booked for Elimination Chamber. Who's making the final decisions here? We don't know. So it's like, okay, this is their last opportunity ever. Well, who signed off on that? Who drew up the contract for the match? Who did this and who did that? It's like, come on. Can we get a little, you know, I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it. We need some sort of authority figure on this show. Not an authority figure that's out every week. Not an authority figure that's in every single segment. But just like a Jack Tunney or a Gorilla Monsoon or even a Commissioner Mick Foley. That, you know, like, you know, even go back to like Kurt Angle as GM, you know, but just keep him backstage and have him read off of cue cards. Anything to just add a little something here. You know, Linda McMahon wasn't the best on the microphone, but it's like when the WrestleMania music would hit and Linda would come out, it's like, okay, things are getting settled now and we're getting some resolution to this. We kind of need that, you know, just for the show. They've always had that. Jack Tunney, Gorilla Monsoon, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels as commissioner. You know, who's retired? You know, who's injured right now? Who could do it? There's a lot of options out there. Even CM Punk would make a good commissioner, I'm sure. Which would, I'm sure, make a lot of people very happy and a lot of people very mad. Jerry Lawler, Daniel Schell says. Michonne Wallace is someone infamous should do it, and that's why I kind of just mentioned CM Punk. That would be something. But yeah, we need somebody out there who's like no nonsense. Teddy Long was great. He wasn't in every single segment, but he would just come out, and if a segment was like getting crazy, he comes out, makes a tag match, or puts you in a singles match with the Undertaker, and boom, we have some resolution. Who said that the Street Profits is now or never? Now or never? Yeah, come on. Really? But anyway, it turned into a good match, and it actually added to the drama of the match because it was their last opportunity. Street Profits have had next to no momentum going on, and they were in front of a crowd that watches a lot of wrestling. Obviously, they like what they're doing. Street Profits are kind of like an act that's made for Brooklyn. It was just there was definitely an energy there for them. They come out, the crowd was chanting, "We want the smoke, we want the smoke." They haven't gotten that kind of reaction really on the main roster at all because they're not used all that often. They're used infrequently. Like they came, they were the laughing guys, the joke guys that were the hosts of Monday Night Raw for the summer. Then they kind of finally made their debut, beat the Good Brothers, and then they disappeared into the sunset again as the hosts of Raw. Then they were doing the stupid Weekend Update spoof, which was horrible with the canned laughter. And then it's like, okay, well, let's put them out there again and have them wrestle. And it's like, well, okay, well, they have no momentum. Nobody knows their catchphrases. No one knows what they're doing. Half the time, people are doing something else when there's a backstage segment with them on. It's just the case. There's too much content on the show. You can't watch everything. But they were into them tonight. And this was the perfect place to do it. So even though it's like, okay, it's their final opportunity for the Raw Tag Team Championship, who made that decision? Who knows? It doesn't matter at this point because it was the right place to do it. They have a great match with Rollins and Murphy. Rollins and Murphy did a lot for them, including this really nasty flapjack that Angelo Dawkins gave Seth Rollins. And I want, if you can, check out Seth Rollins' shoulder. That left shoulder that's a tough bump to take on the floor. And I know it's padding, but if you ever been front row and actually felt the padding, because it's on the barricades as well, it's thick, but it's not giving all that much. That's a tough bump right there. That's a tough bump. That's a bad bump around WrestleMania season because you don't want to blow out your shoulder heading into WrestleMania. You don't want that, especially from a guy like Seth Rollins. But they did so much for them. AOP on the ramp. They try to get involved in the match. Referee ejects them. They still try to get in anyway. And Kevin Owens runs down and gives Rollins the stunner while the referee is distracted by them. AOP chases Kevin Owens in the crowd. Murphy gets pounced out of his shoes by Dawkins at ringside. Montez Ford hits Seth Rollins. So it's Seth Rollins that takes the pin here. Hits Seth Rollins with the frog splash for the win. The Street Profits are your new Raw Tag Team Champions. And again, a great match. The right place to do it. It was wonderful. Just a really, really great thing. And I guess the only other question that I could really ask is, Victoria, what did you think of it?
What are you talking about?
The Street Profits winning.
Oh, I wish I was there for that.
Okay, we got to fix your camera here.
Okay.
Just tilt your computer over a little bit.
Like tilt it
towards the light over there.
Like this.
There you go. Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sure I can.
Can you see me?
I can see you, but your head's cut off.
My head's cut off. Should I move this up?
Yes. Okay, there we go. There's Victoria. She joined us tonight. The baby is sleeping, so I should probably not yell that. Okay.
Well, we'll see.
Well, how is she? Give everybody an update real quick.
Well, no, she's doing good. She started having oatmeal recently.
Okay.
And
I know. I know that. I don't know. Like I'm saying, like, okay, like this is new information.
Are you trying to fix my camera again? No, yeah, she just had oatmeal recently. Actually a week from tomorrow will be the first time that she had oatmeal, and she's doing well with that. Hopefully, she stays sleeping. It's not looking too promising right now, but you never know. Right. So, are you turning off the monitor?
Yep, just turn off the noise.
There you go.
So yeah. So she's doing good. So the Street Profits, they are our new Raw Tag Team Champions. It's a great thing. nice surprise. And again, like usually with these Brooklyn shows, and when I saw that and I saw the first segment, I was like, damn, I wish we went. You know,
I know. I wish
I give Brooklyn a good show.
I wish I had gone to be honest with you, but at the same time, I can make peace with it because we're going to the show this Sunday.
Yes.
Granted, you never know. Like, obviously, sometimes the go-home shows are better than the pay-per-views, but it's it's a hit or miss. You know what I mean? Like, when you actually go to the pay-per-view and you're there live, it's a lot different experience.
Right.
So, to me, it's like I didn't need to go, but yeah, when you see things like that, you're like,
I want to be there. I just want to be part of the crowd.
I'm assuming you already talked about the opening segment.
I did, but you want to? If you have thoughts?
Just a quick take.
Go ahead.
A little bit, but yeah, I just thought Drew McIntyre looked so strong coming out of it. Honestly, I was completely blown away by his performance with each Claymore kick, and each time that he executed one, it just was better and better. And the fact that Brock Lesnar, I was saying this to you tonight while we were watching the show. I said, Brock Lesnar must have a lot of respect for Drew McIntyre to be selling like that for him. So
yes. That's a good point.
I think that it doesn't take just anybody for him to be like, stay down on the ground like that and look weak, so to speak, but overall, I think it was such a strong way to open up a show. Because I was saying beforehand, and I normally like when Paul Heyman starts a show and everything like that, just when he has an opening segment. But sometimes I'm like, Paul Heyman's running things. Like, why are they not starting off with matches more for these Raws? But this is one of those times where I can totally forgive the situation because this was phenomenal.
Yes. Yeah, it was really good. So, we're going to move on to something that's not so good.
Oh, God. What?
The WWE 24/7 Championship with Ricochet taking on Riddick Moss, who's the champion right now.
Okay, I have some thoughts about this, but I will let you do your thing first.
Ricochet was facing for the World Championship just a few days ago.
Right.
And now he can't even beat Riddick Moss. Riddick Moss, who was just called up randomly as Mojo Rawley's sidekick. They dropped Mojo Rawley. They never established a friendship with Mojo Rawley and Riddick Moss. They had him pin Mojo Rawley, and then Mojo just disappears into the sunset. He's gone for good. And it should stay that way. But Mojo Rawley's running around the 24/7 Championship. Nobody knows who he is. The Brooklyn crowd is chanting, "Who are you?" And he's taking it to Ricochet, and then he beats Ricochet clean. What the hell is going on here?
You took the words right out of my mouth, honestly.
What is going on with Richard?
With everything, because that was my whole entire thought throughout this. So you're telling me at Super Showdown, Ricochet, it was an awful match for Ricochet, obviously. He lost in 2 freaking seconds that day at Super Showdown. But you're telling me he was up against Brock Lesnar, like one of the major, like not even just like a top guy in general, like for right now, like a top guy just throughout like wrestling overall. It's not like the flavor of the year or the week or whatever, it's Brock Lesnar. And then you're losing to somebody, like you said, guy like this, not well established, out of nowhere. This is what I've been really hard on Ricochet these past few weeks, but like this is what the type of stuff I'm talking about, though. It's like, where is the consistency? And he looks like a chump. I'm sorry, like for the past like month or so, he's been looking like a chump. I don't care if he had a matchup against Brock Lesnar, like. And you know me, I don't agree with Charlie Caruso by any stretch of the imagination. But prior to, listen, everyone, I didn't watch Super Showdown. I had to watch the baby, so I saw things like intermittently. But right before the show even started, she was like, let's face it, this guy's not going to win against Brock Lesnar. No chance. Like the way she said, it was just so, because it is just so matter of fact. Like if anybody actually thought he was going to win, oh my gosh, I feel very sorry for you.
Right. But even the video package was Ricochet. It started off with him just going, why not me?
Right. It was like, there's every reason why it would not be you. So for this tonight, it was just an example of, like, what are they doing? They're making him look like a chump. He looks like a total chump.
Yeah, that's the best way
Richard
to put it.
the Chump. Ricochet the Chump.
Richard the Chump.
That should be his new name.
Richard O. Chump.
Yeah.
Rick-a-chump.
Rick-a-chump.
Very bad. And it's not like, oh, he's being buried, this and that. No, this is why no one gets over.
But it's not believable. It's not even like okay.
It makes the title look bad that this guy could qualify for it. It makes the people that he beat look even worse. Like Bobby Lashley, I think, took the pin. Bad.
I'm just saying. I personally think that it's just like an awful way to display someone. Just overall, it's not believable. And again, I'm not knocking the guy for his moveset and his skill set. He's very talented. But he needs to not talk, and they need to do something entirely different. This whole, like, even Lawler that day, again, I wasn't watching Super Showdown, but you hear stuff, and just in general, no, actually, it wasn't Lawler, because Lawler didn't go down there. But what day did he say it? Or who was down there? Who commentated for the show? At
Byron
Super Showdown?
Saxon, Colin Graves.
I don't know who said it that day, but somebody during Super Showdown said, like, what is he supposed to be? He's a superhero, but he's supposed to be, like, so I forget which commentator said it, but it was something along the lines of, like,
Not good.
But when they're saying things like they don't even know what he is, that's not good.
That's bad.
That's bad. You just threw one of your guys under the bus. It's probably Graves, but
It probably was. I would say so.
I could see it being Graves.
This is bad. And honestly, it's like, you know, we got Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, I think Bianca Belair is going to be involved in that match somehow, some way at WrestleMania.
I could see that.
She's got a ton of talent, and it seems like they really like her. Why can't Ricochet just go back to NXT?
He should.
He doesn't belong on the main roster.
No.
He's like a skinnier Finn Balor, where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna bring him up and we'll do stuff with him, and he'll be a guy on the main roster, just doing things, and everybody will bitch and moan about how he's used. Or you could send him back to NXT, and Balor's had a career resurgence in NXT.
Balor's doing amazing in NXT.
What's to say that Ricochet couldn't get a second win down there? It's like they need more guys. I think, you know, they probably need like another guy or two or girl or two just to get this thing over. You know, the top. Ricochet could be that guy.
I just don't think,
you know,
that,
it's like you want to put your best against
100%.
If they're battling this Wednesday night war
right.
against AEW Dynamite, which AEW has won all 9 weeks in a row of 2020 so far.
Yeah.
You want to put your best foot forward. You want to have the best matches you could possibly have. Ricochet's got to be down there, and you know what? It's losing to Riddick Moss. You know, send him down now before you've destroyed him so much that even the NXT crowd laughs when he comes down. Please.
Sad part is, very talented.
So talented.
And I think you really have something going there for him for NXT, because if you're talking in terms of like matching up with AEW and everything needing to be more seasoned, for the most part, he has the wow factor because he has a lot of great spots that he can do.
He has a great moveset.
So for somebody who's just kind of casually watching, and, you know, he's a great person to kind of showcase.
Yeah.
But he needs to develop his character more for somebody who needs to be on the
character?
Exactly.
What character?
Exactly. He's a Superman. He's whatever. We don't know.
They just say he's a superhero, and then he cuts a crappy promo where he goes, I'm going to make people believe that superheroes are real. Well, if you can make people believe that, there's a lot of sick people watching wrestling because superheroes are not real. Okay? Okay?
Moving on.
AJ Styles comes out with the OC, and he says he's in a bad mood because The Undertaker beat him for the prestigious two-week trophy. And then he says that there was a viral video going around of Mark Wahlberg. So viral, I never even heard of it until I saw the clip on Raw.
Wait, I'm looking at this because I actually did not see this part.
Mark Wahlberg was interviewed for like a movie, so I guess they sent like you know how like the actors will sit down and like they'll just sit down at a press junket, and all these different interviewers will come up and just kind of get like a couple questions in just for like little clips for their websites and stuff like that. So I'm sure WWE sent someone there to interview Mark Wahlberg real quick to get him to like do a little spot for the show. And Mark Wahlberg says, "Yeah, I was watching the show with my kids." Like, you were not watching Super Showdown with your kids on a Thursday afternoon. Give me a break. Anyway, he tried to put it over. I didn't believe him. But he goes, you need to walk away from this situation with The Undertaker, AJ Styles, while you still can. And Styles goes, "Yeah, I should be celebrating with the Good Brothers. Instead, I'm getting advice from Marky Mark." He says, "I'm going to go with my gut and not take Wahlberg's stupid advice." He goes, "It seems like I'm on a collision course with The Undertaker, and he hopes that Undertaker is watching because he has a match with Aleister Black tonight. Consider this a warning, Undertaker. You're a legend among legends trying to hold on to spotlight that isn't yours anymore. It belongs to me." Good promo. Still, it's hard for me to wash the taste of one chokeslam, and that's how we're going to build this up, out of my mouth. Undertaker's going to be on Raw next week. They didn't announce that, but that is promoted for Washington.
Okay.
That's where they'll be next week.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't watch the promo, so I trust your judgment saying it was good.
This is Undertaker's last chance, I think, to really have, one more good match at WrestleMania.
I would have, if this were, okay, but if that really is genuinely the case, which I agree with you, AJ Styles isn't the last match you have. It should be somebody like John Cena. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not saying AJ Styles is his last match, but I'm saying like really this is like his last opportunity to have like one more good match at WrestleMania.
Right.
He hasn't had a match since the Roman, like an actual real match since the main event against Roman Reigns, which was for the most part it was okay. At times it was sad, because he was so winded and he was falling on. It was bad. It got bad at times.
I think you should just bite the bullet, though, and I don't want to be rude, but, like, force him to have his last match and to be somebody like John Cena. I mean, that would be a huge match.
I think he wanted to go out at WrestleMania 33. I think he was done.
Right.
And he left the gloves in the ring like a fighter does, and walked off. They keep calling him for these shows.
I know,
because they want star power for Saudi Arabia. And I bet you he makes more in one show. He probably made more doing that one stupid chokeslam and pinning AJ Styles for the two-week trophy championship or whatever it is than he probably made in 1 year at the height of his run.
Like, that makes me so sick to my stomach to hear stuff like that. And I wholeheartedly believe that is the case. But it's just that makes me so ill that like that's your motivation. And yeah, listen, if somebody offered me that much
turn down the money?
Right. If somebody offered me that much money, yeah, I probably go. But like it's
probably you're going.
Yeah, but it's like it's just I don't know. But that's a whole separate thing. I always get excited for Undertaker, no matter what.
I know
it's kind of one of those things.
It's a privilege to see him.
Absolutely. But
like we did see him have a good match at the Extreme Rules.
Yes, we did.
When he teamed up in Roman Reigns against McIntyre and Shane.
Yeah, we did, and it was a treat to see him this past September.
Yes, that as well. And I don't know when's the next time we're going to see him live. If we ever get to see him live.
I remember the video you recorded. You actually said, I don't know if this might be the last time we see him live, but I just don't. AJ Styles is not and again, love AJ Styles. I just don't think he's worthy of an Undertaker match.
Really? I think he's gonna have as good a match as anybody could possibly have with him. That's what I think. Styles is so talented.
He is, but
I mean, like, look at the match they did with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 33. Shane McMahon's not a wrestler. Like as much as they try, he's not a wrestler. He can do stuff, but he's not a wrestler. But AJ Styles made him look like one at WrestleMania 33. That opening match is still one of my favorite opening matches of any WrestleMania show I've been to, and I've been to quite a few.
It was everything. It was
if anybody's gonna have a good match with him, it's gonna be AJ Styles.
Okay.
At this stage in Taker's career.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to Undertaker. It's just a natural reaction that I have, but not excited for this matchup. I think I'm just so itchy and eager for the John Cena Undertaker, if we even ever get it.
Well, I mean, we got it at WrestleMania 34, 32nd match.
But was that really like,
I know,
again, I want
match.
a real like...
But, Roman Reigns should have just ended it. It should have just been over there, and they keep doing it. I don't know who retires him at this point, or if Undertaker just kind of goes into the sunset.
I think the only person that should be, I keep saying Cena.
I think they should do it sooner rather than later. It's not going to be this WrestleMania, but he might have one more year in him.
Well, I think
for God's
that's
sake.
what I'm saying. That's why I think it should be someone like Cena, because that's like a really big match. Because let's face it, Cena.
But who's that help? Like Undertaker's last match should help somebody get over.
No, and I'll tell you why I think it should be him. Because think about John Cena's career. He's heavily involved in his acting career now, and he's doing a lot of other things. So you kind of want to capitalize on that big whatever. I mean, that's a huge money making opportunity for them, and that's a match a lot of people want to see. So yeah, maybe it's not helping anybody, but maybe you have an interference. You have, I don't know, something where you can still incorporate building somebody into that, but the two of them are just in the match.
Yeah, true. Could do that. Anyway. Andrew Aldrich says the Bray Wyatt as the Fiend should retire him. I could see I could see that, but the Fiend at this point, what they did to him. Ed Hamilton says Triple H should do it. I mean, they had tons of opportunities with that. I don't know if I want to see Undertaker and Triple H at this point. I saw that we saw them at the Super Showdown in Australia, and that was ugly. So I don't know. Like even Triple H is like a little past his prime. Has sometimes he's hit or miss on whether he's going to look good in the ring as well. Anyway, AJ Styles, I don't think his shoulder is as healthy as they're letting on.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I think he's back, but I think it's going to be like a thing where they're not going to go full force with him until WrestleMania. Like you think about what he did at Super Showdown, he did almost nothing at Super Showdown.
Right, just nurse it for a while, which is smart.
It is smart. Keep him out there because he's going to have to carry it because Undertaker's not going to be at every show. So he's going to have to carry the feud, do the promos, do some physical things.
Right.
So tonight he was supposed to face Aleister Black. And he's going to face Aleister Black on Sunday at Elimination Chamber in a no disqualification match. But he said, you didn't read the contract. You're going to have to face Carl Anderson first if you want to face me. Aleister Black faces him, beats Carl Anderson. Okay, well, you also have to face Luke Gallows.
Mm-hmm.
Again, who's making these decisions? Where's the authority figure saying, that's not in the contract. Get in the ring with Aleister Black and have the match now. Like, we need that.
We don't need...
I just had the long rant about it.
Yeah, we don't... I agree. We don't need, like, somebody who's there every week and, like, that... the authority or whatever, but we do need somebody who's in charge, just kind of delegate at this point.
Right. Now, so Luke Gallows faces Aleister Black, loses by disqualification when he beats him down the corner. They double team him, hit the Magic Killer on Black. Now AJ Styles feels comfortable facing Aleister Black. He's all happy, crushes him with a phenomenal forearm, and pins him like The Undertaker. And this is what I was talking about earlier, about how good the crowd was and how they really made certain segments. When he crossed Aleister Black's arms to pin him like The Undertaker, there was a loud, outrage over this. It was almost like an old school wrestling crowd where it's like, oh, wow, he just did the guy's taunt.
Well, it's
This
Brooklyn.
is a big deal. And I know Brooklyn is not like that. They want to go for let's make it about us. Let's do the wave. Let's boo these people. It's like this was a good crowd tonight. This was a good crowd for almost the whole way. It fell off in the middle of the show, starting around here, but that really made that a really cool little moment when he crossed the arms and they go, oh wow. Anyway. Went a little long for my taste, but actually, and you still have to kind of convince me that I really need to see Undertaker in action again at WrestleMania and AJ Styles, and I should care about this match. They have 3 more weeks pretty much to get me convinced. Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott with Sarah Logan as the guest referee. Does anybody at this point remember the Riot Squad and anything that they did? They did almost next to nothing on the main roster. And now it's like, okay, they're broken up, and now we're having basically the blow up of the and the blow up and the blow off of the Riot Squad here on Raw tonight.
I liked what Ruby Riott was doing a few weeks ago, like when she first came back. I thought she was actually pretty good, and the things that she was saying to Liv Morgan and stuff like that, I think that was nice, but this just isn't working anymore. And I think only because there's also a lot of loose ends. Like, they totally just neglected the fact that, like, Liv Morgan had this whole thing with Lana in general. Like, that still bothers me a little bit that never really got addressed, that it was just kind of, like, put in the back burner and everything. And then with the Riot Squad, I don't necessarily think that this. I mean, I'm not necessarily against it. Having their quick matches here and there and everything like that, but I think they need to just talk less and keep the matches short like they did tonight.
Yeah.
And then we kind of really I don't mind it being on the show. I don't need it. I'm not looking for it, but it's okay. But I think Sarah Logan actually looked pretty good. I know she's not heavily, she's still kind of intertwined between, the focus of Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, but
you are so right though. Like this Liv Morgan thing was just dropped, and I think partly it was dropped because of the outrage of actually having
the disrespect against the LGBTQ community.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the disrespect to Daria.
Sonya Deville.
What's her name? Sonya Deville.
100%.
Who had openly said that she suggested this storyline, and then they took it and let's just have two hot blondes make out on TV. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
it's like 20 years behind the time.
No, it's disrespectful.
So, due to that, Liv Morgan, who they took off of television from July until December.
Right.
So she was off TV for months to kind of rehab her character and come up with some new ideas.
Revamp everything,
Is now back to being an absolute non-factor, nothing. Ruby Riott, who had bilateral shoulder surgery in April, was gone for 9 months.
Yep.
Did all this rehab, comes back, and is just kind of put in this feud with Liv Morgan, and it's a total nothing because Liv Morgan is a nothing because they botched her return. It's just not fair for any of them. And Sarah Logan is just there because it's just because
she was part of the Riot Squad.
We need another woman for the Elimination Chamber to flesh it out on the Raw side.
Right, and she was part of the Riot Squad. But I think that what initially should have happened is because Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott were both out around the same time, one for different reasons, but it would have been kind of cool if they both came back together.
Right.
And then they started to feud against each other.
Exactly. I think you're right because they botched it, so it's almost like, why do it in the first place? Like, you should have known it was going to be this bad. Bring the Riot Squad back together and do it for a few weeks and then have them
just
turn.
Split.
None of you came to visit me during my rehab or whatever.
Right, whatever. Exactly.
Something.
Yeah. I was having and it could have gone either way.
And then they could have more than just a quiet match that wasn't even a quarter-hour match. It wasn't at the top of the hour here. It wasn't a big deal at all.
Yeah, because you could have done it either way. Liv Morgan's I lost myself and none of you visited me, and then Riott could have been I was recovering and you never visited me. They could have had this whole back and forth, but it's never really well established. And listen, I know there was a lot of backlash, including from myself with Liv Morgan, with the whole storyline with Lana, but they kind of should have just followed through with what they did and then end it.
Right.
There was no resolution, and I think that's because it totally.
Yeah.
You could have
just there.
You could have done a quick solution to that, and then did something else with Liv Morgan to kind of revamp.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can we talk about the spider?
Why? I'm okay. Here's why I'm really annoyed. All right. Yes, I'm annoyed as a spider. Obviously, I'm annoyed. There's several reasons why I'm really annoyed. One, it looked beyond fake. It looked. There was no.
It was asinine.
It looked like a Halloween spider that I can get from the local CVS and Walgreens or whatever, okay?
Yes.
Secondly,
You're losing your mind over this.
I am, because it's annoying. Another reason why I'm very angry is because the way they did the reveal backstage with No Way Jose and his little friends.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Are you kidding me? If you're going to have this monstrous spider and then it's like, oh, all you had to do was ask nicely and I'll tell you what's in the cage. Seriously? That's what the angle we're going with? And then backstage with No Way Jose. If you're going to have this big of a disappointment, it was disappointing just to begin with. There was no, like, it was so anticlimactic. It was like, really? And then obviously the fact that it's a spider, yes, that's a third reason. But nonetheless, it's mainly because it looked terrible.
Yes.
And it was with No Way Jose, who's nobody.
Right. Why is No Way Jose even there? It's
right.
It's like he's just like I think you said, like, why is he just dancing around backstage? Like, he hasn't been used in months. Like, he's waiting for a match.
And
like,
then,
come on.
Right. And then but he gets the epic reveal of the cage. What's in the cage?
Right. It's probably the biggest moment of his career.
Oh my god.
Everybody loves the Victoria rant, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
She just had a major meltdown there. Well, that's okay, because I'm going to have a major meltdown over this match here. Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler gets the good old NXT to the main roster treatment, and that they completely bungle her debut.
Told you.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
They had her come in with a hot angle where she bites the neck of Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch kills the angle. Not really Becky Lynch's fault. The writers kill the angle by having her come back with the stolen ambulance and just basically no-sell the attack earlier in the night. Next week, it's like nothing ever happened. And now Shayna Baszler has her in-ring debut against Kairi Sane. It was supposed to be against Asuka. Thank God Asuka has a sprained wrist. Because why in the world would you give Asuka versus Shayna Baszler on Shayna Baszler's first night and just completely ruin what could be a great money feud?
Right, in the upcoming, yeah.
Like, that would be a great match. That could be a really, really good match. And we've seen Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane many times. We saw them at TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yes, we
saw
did.
them at Evolution.
Yes, we did.
They can have good matches.
Yes.
Tonight was not the night to have a good match. Tonight, these next few weeks, and by the way, they did not have a good match. This match sucked to high hell. This was absolute the drizzling shits. And this is one of your main event matches for WrestleMania. They are moving Becky Lynch into be your main event. Not the main event, not like last year, but it's going to be one of the featured attractions of WrestleMania this year, this Raw Women's Championship. And for God's sake, the next few weeks, we only have 4 weeks left to WrestleMania. 3 more Raws, I guess, right?
Essentially.
Look at my calendar right now and let you know.
Too.
Because I'm pretty sure it's only... Oh, no, we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
4
more Raws left
that extra
until
week's
WrestleMania. These next... Let's include tonight's Raw, so 5. These 5 Raws should have just been about making Shayna Baszler look like an absolute monster. An absolute monster. Instead, you have her have a shitty, boring match against Kairi Sane that goes through a commercial break. Kairi Sane, who, in NXT was booked like something. Here, she's booked like nothing. She's Asuka's sidekick. Shayna Baszler can't put her away immediately. You can't make her look... And then you have Becky Lynch coming out dressed like Elton John, sitting on commentary wearing Jerry Lawler's fucking crown and just totally no-selling anything of Shayna Baszler. Are you kidding me?
I love how everyone was
you kidding me?
Oh, Victoria, you're wrong about this whole Shayna Baszler thing. Like, you're just being too negative. And I'm like, okay, you'll see. You will see. You will see what they're going to do to this girl.
This sucks.
It does suck. And this is why I told everybody that this is what happens. This is what everything evolves to. When you can't... They have a very hard time transitioning people from NXT to... And it's not even like small fish, big pond type thing. That's not what it's about. It's about the characters don't match up in either both in the product within the same company.
Right.
They don't match up.
And to think, foolish me was so looking forward to this because it would. I figured they would give Becky Lynch the kind of like the boost that she needed again. Because again, I think back to that sit down they did in November before Survivor Series when it was just Shayna and Becky Lynch and Bayley with the complete afterthought in that entire match. And they had a great back and forth. And I was like, this is gonna be a serious feud. Yeah. It's gonna be great. Instead, we have Elton John coming out and sitting on commentary wearing the crown and no-selling everything. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And Shayna Baszler just trying to just go through the motions with Kairi Sane. Shayna Baszler had a look on her face like, yeah, I know this is not at all what I had in mind.
You kind of go from the idea of,
and it's not like Shayna's young. She's 38 years old.
Well, everyone, you know what's funny? Everybody prior to her coming up to the roster, there's a majority of people who are like, who's your favorite wrestler right now? And a lot of people are like Shayna Baszler. Just regardless of her being on NXT, they were like, she is a beast and she is just insane. Like, she's got such a, unique character to her and just this tough exterior. It's like, overall, between both products, you were like, wow, she's really something. But that's what they do here. This is a typical WWE thing where, for whatever reason, they don't transition the character that's working in developmental, whatever. But it's not even developmental anymore. It's just
it's a TV show.
TV show, who was working there into whatever. It's like, why are you changing what's working down there up there? Because again, you have two very different people running the show. That's why you honestly. You need to be able to have Triple H have, I'm not saying full control, but I'm saying when they first get there at least, have him run those individuals and have them have a say in those individuals. But it's not going to happen. He needs to have full control of them until they are established into the main roster.
All right.
He does, because he knows them best and he knows what works.
I agree 100%. Triple H should be writing all this stuff, or the guy who does the writing in NXT who helps. Should have like they should be consulted on almost exclusively for the first
6 months or so,
3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
of someone's.
And then once they're
roster.
Established, then WWE can take over. But
or at least just give them some kind of guidance. Maybe somebody from the writing room should call them up and be like, "Is this something that Shayna Baszler would do?"
But that's what I'm saying. It's just not. It's not consistent at all. It's like you get totally different people when you come up. Like what works down there is not working up here because it's not the same character. It's just not. Yeah. And it's actually different. If you think about it, it's actually different movesets too, which is weird.
Yeah, it just wasn't the same.
The styles
Baszler that we're used to seeing.
The style's very different for whatever reason. Again, same company, but it's totally. It might as well. NXT might as well be a different company. Yeah. Honestly, it really it's to be its own
different genre. Than the wrestling that's on the main roster.
Right.
This sucks. I mean, really, really bad. And whatever the we're talking about Elton John. Becky Lynch looks like Elton John. Whoever wrote this. Just like the song, just like the first verse of Rocket Man, they had to be high as a kite when they wrote that. It was terrible. This was the shits. Moving on. And Shayna Baszler gets the win. Ooh, wow. After a commercial break. Give me a break. Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo versus Andrade and Angel Garza. This is Andrade's first real match back on the main roster since coming back from a suspension. This was really good and helped erase some of the stink of Shayna Baszler. What are you looking at? Is she up?
She's self-soothing.
Good.
Let's just lower our voices a little bit.
I don't know if I can because I'm upset. This was a really good match. Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo get the win over Andrade and Angel Garza. I thought the finish was really good, and you can kind of see the direction that this is going. You know, you can kind of see this is going to be a really, really hot fatal 4-way match at WrestleMania for the U.S. title.
Yeah, for sure. This is something this is something that one of the things you look forward to. It could possibly be the best match of the night, you know? And I like this style. I love all of their styles. They have when you get something like that together, it's like it's almost unstoppable. Like there's just no sky's the limit with them, honestly.
Yep.
That style to me is just so incredibly unique and diverse, and it's just something that this company needs, and I'm very happy they're taking advantage of it too.
Yeah, me too. Because this is like, you know, like the thing that makes NXT so good is that there are different styles.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about how like the main roster is like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And it like kind of like exists outside of like the wrestling world.
Yeah.
It's like it's wrestling,
its own
but
entity.
a different kind of wrestling.
Yeah.
When these four are in the ring together, it's like, okay, finally we have like a different flavor here.
Yeah.
Something a little different than what we see in every other match on Raw. You can see 8 matches on Raw, and 7 of them could be exactly the same. And then you have these matches, and it's like, okay, at least it's something
You take
different.
them to a different culture. Like you get a whole different experience when you're with
and
them.
And it's not like a bullshit cruiserweight match where
No.
it's like, okay, we're just going to do a whole bunch of flips and, hey,
No.
clap for us. No one cares.
No, this is different.
They've built them well. I think the Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo thing, because they're cousins, is actually a great storyline. Zelina Vega managing them is great. Mysterio being involved in this is like that veteran presence that you need to kind of establish, because they're trying to get Humberto Carrillo over as like a Latin star, and Andrade and Angel Garza as well. So Mysterio is there to kind of like, you know, keep them calm and keep them focused, and also help put on a great match, and also use his legend to put these guys over as well.
Do you think this was a happy accident with Andrade getting suspended?
Completely.
Like, do you think this was the goal, or this was just a happy accident?
I don't think if Andrade didn't get suspended, I don't think we see Angel Garza on the main roster.
Okay,
absolutely
this is then phenomenal.
I think they brought up Angel Garza just to keep Zelina Vega on TV. I don't think they thought that Angel Garza was going to work out the way he did, because Angel Garza came up and in 4 weeks firmly established himself as somebody who could be an actual main superstar. I'm not saying a main event superstar, but like a big superstar,
somebody big
that could draw, you know, the coveted Latin demographic that they've wanted to have since Rey Mysterio, you know, was in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Andrade. You know, like you have options now. It could be Andrade. It could be Humberto Carrillo. It could be Angel Garza. It could be all 3 that do it. But they're in good shape right now in terms of that. They are in really good shape. Mm-hmm. And now let's get to this main event angle, because this is like, wow. This was probably for my money, the best microphone work Randy Orton has ever done in his entire career.
100%.
And if anybody can think of anything better than what he did tonight, please let me know, because I want to see it. I don't think it exists.
I think there's a lot of times that Randy Orton has done really well mic work. You know what's really funny? I've always enjoyed Randy Orton. I've always really liked him from like the start of me watching it. But there was certain times like throughout I appreciated him, but I felt like other people were like, he was kind of like a hit or miss individual. But I felt like there was times where he really didn't care, or he really wasn't invested, and he was just kind of like,
that happened.
Yeah. Sure. But this was just so beyond the realm of like what you look for in,
or what you expect from Randy Orton.
Yeah, what you expect from him, or just even in general, what you expect from a closing segment of a show. Just in general.
Well, it's like,
I mean, this was like,
well, it's like you always hear about like the money promo, the one that sells you on the match.
This is it.
This is like the textbook definition of what that is. Yeah, there are guys that cut them. Like Paul Heyman can just do a money promo in his sleep. John Cena can do a money promo in his sleep.
100%.
Not many other people get that. Triple H can do one sometimes. Randy Orton, wow. I mean, he firmly established him, Edge versus Randy Orton. He firmly established that match as like one of the main event matches of WrestleMania. Yeah. Without question, bar none. It has to be considered a main event.
And it will live up to its expectations,
and it's going to be fire.
Yeah.
It could be, why? Will. Because the crowd is invested in it. The crowd believes in it. And it's over. The Brooklyn crowd, they weren't like, like when it came time, you knew when it was coming time for him to RKO Beth Phoenix. You knew it was coming, and some people were chanting RKO like they knew it was coming after she slapped him. But when he actually finally did it, there was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And at that point, you have him because you have gotten the Brooklyn crowd to suspend their disbelief and believe, this, and be involved in the story and be invested in the story. That's why I watch wrestling still. At 32 years old, like, I don't know, like sometimes I watch it and I'm like, why do I still watch this? I don't know anymore.
It's moments like that.
It's moments like that. That's like, that's why I watch wrestling.
Yeah, because
that's so good.
This is something where like you wish, because there's a lot of times we have to defend watching it just because like some stuff is very silly. This is not silly. This was
the tarantula.
Yeah, exactly. But this is something that is just so amazing and authentic, and how he just got progressively evil and sinister, and
how he twisted the story too. Because so Randy Orton says, I owe you an explanation, and then he finally gives us the explanation that we've been waiting for a month. Talks about being a WWE live event in October 1999 in St. Louis, going backstage and seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley, Triple H, Davey Boy Smith, which was a great name drop right there. But the one person that came up to his father, because he was, and he talked about how he met Blackjack Lanza and Tony Garea, and those are names that not a lot of people know, but the insiders, like the people that follow all through the years, they know those names. Those are significant names. And Orton brought, Cowboy Bob brought Randy to meet them because he's trying to break him into the business. And the only one that came up to his father to shake his hand and tell him what a legend he was Edge. A young Edge who was just starting out, really. Shook his hand, said he's one of the best you were one of the best bad guys in the business, and this and that. And he said, oh, I want you to meet my son. And Edge shakes my hand and says, maybe one day, if you play your cards right, we'll be in the ring together. And then he goes, fast forward a couple years later, me and Edge are main eventing and stealing the show for the Intercontinental Championship. And I do remember those matches and how good they were. Edge versus Randy Orton were great. And then a few years later, they win Rated RKO. They're the tag champions. And then Orton talks about how he hit, a wall and made some bad decisions, and Edge pulled him out and showed him that there's more to life than just wrestling. And Edge goes, and Orton says, now I have a son and I teach him how to be a man, and I have a daughter and I teach her, how a man should treat a woman. And, I get to be there for the softball games and the dance class and this and that. Edge gave me all that. He saved my life. And I saved Edge's life because he shouldn't be back. Because a guy like me is going to put him in a wheelchair. So I saved his life so he could be a husband to you, Beth Phoenix, and your two daughters, Lyric and Ruby. And Beth was great in this. Because she didn't do much. She didn't say much, but she was crying.
She was good. She was really good.
She was excellent in this. And he goes, but, I love your two kids. I love Ruby and Lyric. And I love Edge. And I think I love them more than you do. Because you encourage this. If Edge was a drug addict, would you give him drugs, every morning? If he was an alcoholic, would you give him alcohol to drink? No, but he's an addict. He's an addict for the roar of the crowd, and you should have stopped him. And this is just money, 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 money. And it was so good. And then finally, it gets to that point. I'm just trying to find the part. He goes, He goes, I love them more than you ever could. And he goes, the truth hurts, doesn't it? And she looks at him. She was crying initially. She looks at him, and then this happens. I'm going to show the GIF here. She slaps him right in the face, and Orton just, you could see the change, the Viper come out.
Mm-hmm.
The character change right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the best work Randy Orton has ever done. Better than, when he kissed Stephanie in front of Triple H. Better, because that was a horrible feud anyway. This has just been nothing but straight fire. You could see the change. And then he throws the microphone down, trying to hold back his fury. He mouths at her, you bitch. Phoenix kicks him. And then he drops her with the RKO. And the crowd just, wow. And they did a great job, too. Because he walked right off. They send referees and trainers out there. There were still a few more minutes to go in the show. So they have the commentators talking about it. Byron Saxton goes, he is a son of a bitch for what he did. And it's just, and the whole rest of the show, the last 2 minutes was just showing replays of what happened and and showing the wrestlers and the referees and trainers checking on her.
I think
this was just one of the best.
Oh my gosh. This has to be top of.
It's one of the best segments
ever.
I've recapped. And I've been doing it for 12 years.
Honestly,
This is my 13th year, I think.
This has to be, to be honest with you, this has to be at least top 5, one of the best segments ever.
Oh, I don't know about ever. This is one of the best in this era for sure. I would say so.
Because
maybe.
For me.
Okay. Explain.
Because I haven't seen everything that you saw, unfortunately, but the reason why I felt this was, here's why. Because just the progression of it, like I was saying before, the way it kind of evolved, he was being very manipulative, the way he was talking to Beth. First he was complimenting the fact that Edge, was a huge person who he was respectful, and he was hardworking, and he, we did a lot of great things together, and, was feeding into that mindset, right, of hers, and allowing her to almost think is he going to apologize right now for what he did and really provide an actual explanation or whatever. But then it just turned into something where he's I love your kids. I love them, that whole thing. But then the initial, then we're making the references to alcohol and drugs and all that. You're an enabler and this, that, and the other thing. The way it just was evolving and evolving and evolving. And it wasn't one of those Beth's sitting there and waiting for her turn to react or whatever. She, throughout the entire time, was strongly listening to him and really hearing those words and trying to comprehend everything and whatnot. But then even on her end, she's crying, but then she slaps him, and then he calls her the bitch or whatever and things like that. And then the RKO happens. The reason why too, because in this era, you're not getting a lot of male female interaction in that aspect. There's right. Think about it. Even in the video games, they're not promoting that. They're not promoting. Right. You can't even have the two of them fighting in a pretend whatever in video game. So for this moment that he just kind of went to that level where he put his hands on a woman, this guy's wife, it's because think about it, in the past few years when they've attacked the families and stuff like that, they never, most of the time, they're not attacking the actual individual. They're not attacking, right, the actual female themselves. You know what I mean? But he went to that level tonight, what the Viper does, to take it to that next, to show how serious he is and how strongly he feels that you're this bad person and blah 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 blah, to justify his actions. Right.
Excellent. It was just excellent, really. And now it's it sets up perfectly, because now it's we've reached a fever pitch for Edge to come back, and they're not going to wait any longer. Edge will be back next week. They promoted it in Washington, D.C. They didn't promote it on Raw, so they're going to try to make it a surprise without it really being a surprise. But Edge Edge is going to be back next week. Even if it wasn't promoted, it's like the only other option now is just you got to bring Edge back, and then you do the hard build to WrestleMania from here on out. This was just wow. The segment was so good. One of the best segments I've recapped in a long time on Raw. Really, really good. And I was really happy to watch it. So that for me, that alone has me give it a thumbs up. People are asking about possibly him punting Beth Phoenix. The punt is banned because of the actual ramifications. You don't want to have that image out there, I guess.
I think
especially like this didn't need the punt. The RKO was enough. She sold it wonderfully. There's no need for a punt.
I think that, like I was saying before, I think in this era that's why you have the shock value, because you really aren't getting like male female interaction like Nia Jackson and Dean Ambrose had that little remember they were toying with that idea, and then they completely
dropped that because they were actually promoting that they were probably going to
have a match, right, or something.
Like, no,
right?
The advertisers were like, absolutely not.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I feel this is one of the higher ups for me in the top 5 but it was done tastefully, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because of the way he.
It wasn't like that. Beth didn't look. I mean, Beth is a sturdy individual, and and she's gone against guys in the past.
Right.
She threw the kick first.
Right.
So, it was good.
It was done tastefully in the sense of what what the angle was,
and it also helped put Orton over as like the biggest son of a bitch on the planet.
Exactly. He just escalated from no, I love your kids, and then it's like, no, now I'm gonna hit your mother, hurt your mother, not whatever, but
right. Well, she's hurt you guys, so I have to hurt
you. Yeah, exactly.
Just excellent stuff. So for me, that segment alone gives it a thumbs up. I love the segment that opened up the show. I love the tag match with Mysterio and Carrillo. I love the tag titles changing hands in a really good match. This was obviously it drags in the middle. The show always drags in the middle.
Always.
What can you do? So it's like
3-hour show.
It's a 3-hour show. So my criteria is always the same. I was entertained at all the moments that were the big moments of the show. Thumbs up.
Same here.
Big
thumbs up.
Thumbs
I
up
think
for me.
Yeah.
What do you say in the chat room? Do you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down? I'm gonna look at the Twitter poll again. We're at 77% thumbs up. People like the show tonight.
I'm very surprised though that it's not higher. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I think it was the spider.
Yeah, true. If you dwell on that like I did for a while, yeah, probably.
I think people were insulted by the spider.
It was insulting. Electronic, really? Little toy, little nothing.
I know. Andrew says, thumbs up for most of the show, thumbs down, Shayna and the spider. Don't get me started on the Shayna again.
Don't get me started on the spider again.
Way up from Billy Hafner, thumbs up from Daniel Schell. Waiting on a few more here. But yeah, this was just an excellent Raw. So, thumbs up from Michael Jewell. We have a good chat room tonight, I gotta tell you. Raw, 69 thumbs up. Brooklyn, 100 thumbs up from Quentin Walters, of course. He's stealing Daniel Schell's gimmick here,
Did anyone see last week, by the way? At one point, because remember I wasn't on the show, but I remember I was in the room and I was in the glider while she was in her crib, and I'm looking through this comment. I was looking through the Twitter and everything, and there was 69 at one point. I was like, oh my gosh! And
I know. It's actually kind of good. Machine Walls gives it a thumbs up. Daniel Schell gives it a Donald Trump thumbs up. So,
Oh, okay. I was like, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I have to assume that's what you just did, right?
Yeah. So, excellent show. A lot of fun to watch. I wish we were there. I really do.
I do.
But we'll be there on Sunday.
I do. And I think if we weren't going on Sunday, I would feel I would kick myself now,
Exactly.
But Philly's slowly becoming another home to us.
Yes.
We'll be there on Wednesday again.
Yeah. So. We're going for her post-op on Wednesday, and we fully expect her to get 100% clearance to do whatever the heck she wants and live her life any way she wants. She's looking great. We're very proud of her. And again, we obviously for all the donations and all the contributions, we thank everybody.
And everyone's just so
cool.
And
everybody just caring and even asking about her.
I mean, I get so many messages from people who are part of Wrestleview, and they're just constantly, you know, just saying like how's she doing and everything else. So like it's just nice to see.
Yeah. But I gotta say, the Raw side of WrestleMania is looking pretty good. Andrew Elder's asking if Lily's going to Elimination Chamber. She is not.
She is not.
No,
even though she's a Philly-born baby.
She is a resident of Philadelphia.
We were not going to take her to the show. We're not going to take her,
especially with all the coronavirus stuff. We don't want her around anybody pretty much. So it's like,
I mean, she's gone to like the park, hospital.
Yeah.
And your dad's house.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, she hasn't been to my mom's house.
Yeah, she hasn't.
Uncle
really
Vincent's. She was
Uncle Vincent's too. Yeah,
so.
yeah.
All right. On that note, we're going to sign off. We are going to definitely be part of the Elimination Chamber Wrestleview live review with Doug and Roy Nemmer. We will be calling in, giving you live thoughts. I also have a very special story about the Elimination Chamber that I would like to share with you on Sunday. Why is it so important for me to get to the Elimination Chamber and finally see the Elimination Chamber match? I will explain why on Sunday when I call in. Looking very, very much forward to that show, even though it's not like the best lineup of Elimination Chambers that I've ever seen. You know, it's still going to be pretty. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very nice for me to be there. On that note, I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I am Victoria Tedesco, the mother of Liliana Tedesco.
That's right. I'm the father of her, too. I did something, a year ago. All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Have a good week.